There are moments in life when silence becomes a shield against pain, against disappointment, against the world. And then there are moments when that silence becomes a cage of memories, of fears, and of brokenness. For Mira, silence was both her refuge and her prison. It wasn't just that she had learned to keep quiet, it was that staying silent had been her survival. Mira sat in the dim light of her apartment, staring out the window at the city below. At 32, she had become a successful marketing director, a woman who had built her career on strategy, persuasion, and communication. To the outside world, Mira's life looked perfect. A career she had worked tirelessly for, a polished image, an apartment that spoke of success. But inside, she was still that quiet girl, the one who had learned long ago that words led to nothing but pain. The one who had learned that silence could protect her from the world's harshest truths. Her childhood had been filled with chaos. Her parents constantly arguing, her father constantly beating her mother, her father distant and cold, her mother forever trying to hold it all together. The silence between them became Mira's sanctuary, but it wasn't the only silence she would ever know. When Mira was 24, she met Daniel. He was charming, confident, and she quickly fell for him. At first, he made her feel seen, loved, cherished. But slowly, something changed. The words she once thought would bring her comfort began to sting. There were the little things at first, the subtle insults disguised as jokes, the joking about her looks, her work, her personality. At the time, she told herself it was nothing but just his way of teasing. But then the behavior escalated. One night, after an argument that she didn't even remember the cause of, Daniel shoved her against the wall. It wasn't the first time he had raised his voice at her, but it was the first time he had raised his hand. Mira had been silent as he screamed at her, his words cutting deeper than any physical blow ever could. Silent as he demanded she apologize, even when she hadn't done anything wrong. The next day, when he came to her with apologies and promises, "I'll never hurt you again, I swear. I love you," Mira believed him, and she stayed. But the violence continued. Not every day, not every week, but it was there, hiding behind the love he showed when it suited him. Each time, Mira grew quieter, withdrawing further into herself, because silence was all she knew. It was the only way she could survive. Finally, after one last fight that left Mira bruised and broken on the floor, she found the courage to leave. She didn't speak. When she left, she just packed a bag and walked out. But the silence lingered long after she left him. The bruises faded, but the emotional scars stayed. Mira buried her pain behind a quiet facade, never letting anyone in. She thought if she stayed silent, if she kept her thoughts to herself, the pain would go away. But today, as she sat by the window staring at her phone, the silence was louder than ever. Her mother had sent a message. "Mira, your father is coming to town. He wants to see you." Her heart skipped a beat. Her father, the man who had always been distant, the man who had never been able to protect her from anything, the man who had never known the full story of her pain. For the first time in years, Mira felt something other than numbness. The silence she had been hiding behind seemed like a lie. She had to confront the past. She had to find her voice. Mira stood up and walked over to her desk, opening the drawer where she kept her old journal. She hadn't written in it in years, not since the days when words were her only escape. But today, she would write again. I used to believe that silence could keep me safe, that if I stayed quiet, the pain wouldn't find me. But it's been years, and the pain is still here inside me. I've been hiding from him, from my family, from myself. I left Daniel because I had to, but I've been running from my own voice ever since. I've been afraid to speak because I didn't know what I would say. What if the words I speak only cause more pain? But maybe it's time to speak anyway. Maybe it's time to break the silence. Mira placed the journal back in the drawer and looked at her phone again. The message from her mother was still there, waiting. She didn't know what would happen when her father came to town. She didn't know what would happen when she finally confronted her past. But for the first time in years, Mira knew one thing. It was time to find her voice. The road to healing is not a straight line. It's filled with twists and turns, with moments of clarity and moments of doubt. But every step forward is a step toward freedom. And Mira was finally ready to take that step. Because she released that sometimes. The hardest part of healing isn't finding the strength to walk forward, it's finding the courage to speak.